What I would like to talk right now briefly is the concept of DevOps. And just before I start, again, the exercise after the eating, hands up who heard DevOps idea before? Great, again, I can pretend I'm an expert now. Fine. So what I want to talk about is what are our current challenges in the operational agilityness, being agile in how we operate, how we define the scope, how we deliver the projects and so on, which I believe it's quite crucial again for shared service centers. I will try to briefly explain and on a really high level what the DevOps is about so you understand the concept, and we don't want to talk about solutions too much about tools itself, but the concept is important. What can be done better using, for example, DevOps, and then again how IBM can help and how we can engage together to start DevOps approach in your organization. So if we think about the project, a very common and normal and very simplified way of delivering the project is that first we have a vision, then we have some kind of requirements, then we are trying to design the solution, we are trying to implement it, then we are testing it, and then finally we are going live and passing to the operations. Casual waterfall approach. If we think about the SAP implementation, it might take easily 3 years, 5 years, maybe sometimes 10 years if we are talking about very big global implementation. And that's the way how we work. The problem here is, the challenge here is that very often those phases are very distinct. They do not blend in. And there are some assumptions which you are following across whole life cycle of the project. Some of those assumptions are shown here, meaning which departments are engaged in which part of the delivery of the project. In the very beginning, we have the strategy department, for example. Those are enlightened people who know the best what we want to do, right? Then we have a business. They are bringing the requirements to us, but they are focused on the revenue generation and bringing all the ridiculous ideas which IT department cannot deliver most of the time. Then we have IT and suppliers. So most of the people in the company, they think like, okay, those guys just cost money and they are delivering things and all the time saying that they cannot do something which we want. Later on, we have the guys for whom the time is very relative thing, which is the quality assurance. They will test until the end of our life because they want to have everything perfect, right? So they don't care that we want to be agile and have fast time to market. And then later on, we have a support organization, and they do nothing else than just do the spinning the wheel, and it's all the time rolling, right? So there is a lot of misunderstanding between the department itself, but still the common layer here, which is the project life cycle, is thing which they have to collaborate on. But because of those misunderstandings, there is quite a lot of challenges around the whole process itself. So first of all, imagine this. We have a vision. We want to do something really cool. Fine. Then what we are trying to do is to collect the requirements and then design the solution. We do it in the beginning of the project. The moment the solution is signed off, we start to deliver it. And somehow we assume that people who are delivering the solution, they won't have a better idea how to do it during the project because we already fixed our design, fixed our scope. We cannot change anything, although we have a great idea. Everything is postponed and we are going with some not optimal compromise. We are ending up with the solution which is not really what we wanted to achieve. And very often the guys from the support, they have even better idea how to make things better because they are working with the system day to day, right? They have the best ideas, but nobody is listening to them because they are getting a ready system at the end of the day. So lack of communication between departments and different people who are designing, delivering system, lack of understanding what is important for each other, right? The business is the beneficiary for the new system, but they don't understand how operations are sometimes working, or they don't understand what is important for IT to maintain this system. So they do not include the requirements there for the platform. So also, because we are designing the system in the very beginning of the initiatives, most of the really important requirements are not yet known, and they are coming up as the limitations or the possibilities during the implementation of the project. They are again not embedded in the final result because we already froze our design and our budget is fixed and so on. Because we are doing it in such a long cycles, very long cycles, there is not so much standardization. After ERP implementation, 15% of staff is desperate and leaving the company because they have enough. Another 20, they are so smart that they are leaving the company because they want to get better pay, better salary, and searching their luck somewhere else. And generally, we cannot repeat this process. Everybody is fed up. We have to forget about the current implementation, and after some time when we are healed, after those wounds of long implementation projects, then we can, okay, let's try to think about something new. And then time itself. Business or strategy saying, okay, we have to shift our business model to something else, to be new market, new customers. And we are saying, great, in 3 years we can do that because we will be ready with the platform. I mean, this is not what our customers and also the business is expecting. So those are the challenges which we see today. What can be done different? Well, by the way, so at the end of this journey, very often what we are getting is something like that. The idea is fairly enough, it's a house. There are all requirements embedded in it, but probably we forgot to ask the end user if he really wants to take a bath on the roof of his house. And probably it will be not too easy to maintain it. And most probably we won't be able to build on top of that new solutions. It just is one-time great implementation of something which is probably not so useful as it could be. So going back again to our life cycle of the project, the DevOps is trying to bring the promise of more agile, but not only of agility within the delivery mode, which we know everybody is using the word now, we are agile, and very often it is substitution of we don't have any methodology and plan, that's why we are agile. It's not the same. Being agile means there is a methodology and we have a plan and we are just executing it in the shorter cycles. But also in DevOps, there is one more element, which is design itself. Very often we are thinking about the design thinking, and this is where we are putting our user in the center of our attention. This is what we were talking about in the panel, discussion panel, that at the end of the day, we need to understand for whom are we doing what we are doing, who is the beneficiary of our actions, who is our customer, and if he will be happy with what we are delivering. So, DevOps, in fact, stands for development and operations. This is the circle which says we do not go from the stabilization phase to the project phase and 3 years later to stabilization phase. We are in a constant motion. There are new requirements which are seamlessly embedded in the solution, released to the production within months, weeks, or sometimes days. Now the question, we know Netflix, right? They are innovator in the, let's say, DVD renting and movie renting space. They went fully web-based solution, with the web-based solution not so long time ago. And they are extremely successful. Can you imagine, can you give me the assumption how many releases of their software, productive software they have, and how often, how frequent? Just a guess. Just, Every 2 weeks, okay. Anything else? Twice a day. Well, they are getting up to 100 releases per day, meaning their system is constantly in motion and still stable, still usable. So they are in a full throttle changes, and they can do that. So again, what DevOps is doing is nurturing the collaboration in Polish współpraca. Why not to learn Polish now? If we are moving to the shared service centers in Krakow, it's a good opportunity to learn Polish. Collaboration and automation. We want, if we do 100 releases per day, well, we want to automate quite a few things. For example, tests. We are doing and designing our solutions thinking about the user. Again, value and the user. Why are we doing what we are doing? It's not because somebody wrote some requirement which we don't understand. No, let's go back to this person and ask and show it and then prototype. Let's show the mock-up, let's show simple drawing, let's show piece of the box and tell them this is your system, what will you do with it, right? So we are trying to embed the feedback in the solution. We are not going, thank you for requirements, in 3 years we will show you what you built and then you will give us your feedback for the survey. And then we will think about another big project and embed your feedback. No, we do it constantly. And then we are going with the constant change and change and change. What is also important is how the organization supports this process. It's not only about tools and methodologies, it's about the culture and the teams itself. Again, I mentioned in the beginning, very often IT and business, they don't understand each other. There are different priorities for both of those departments. When we start to think about DevOps, there is no team A and team B. There is one team which is trying to design the solution, and one team, and sometimes this is really one team, both designing and delivering is a one team. So the guys who are in operations, they can give instant feedback to the IT guys that, listen, I'm not doing it in this way. You are forcing me to add 13 additional clicks in my system before I can do my operations, which I'm doing 100 times per day. It means you're giving me 3 hours of more work per day. And then IT guys say, okay, I thought it was a good idea. Now I see it's not a good idea. We change our design. We change our process description. The same, the strategy guys can tell, listen, we want to go a little bit more left, not right. So why don't we try to shape this solution so we can build on top of that? So we don't end up with the solution which we cannot do anything else than stated that it's our new legacy system just after implementation, and we have to think how to do the new system which will be better. What can we do better then? First of all, those are 3 pillars of a DevOps, and they have to be implemented together so the DevOps is really working. It's the organizational support. Without this one, it won't work. Without people being focused on collaboration, and I know that, for example, it's important for Deb as well. We see it from our workshop this week that collaboration is one of the areas where we can innovate in AppD. So people need to understand that the collaboration, co-location of the people in the same maybe offices is a very good idea. Another thing is automation, yeah, okay, and standardization. We don't want to repeat the same things which can be done in the automatic way, right? We said also today that the technology world is changing enough so we can try to embed more robotic style in our work. And I know that this is not what we like the most, but we have to reinvent ourselves and, as it was said, to become obsolete so we can become something else. IT is really changing. I don't think everybody now expects from IT to maintain the servers and that the light is on, right? The old approach that the support is to just make the operations available through availability of the system. No, we also heard today that the leaders are trying to be proactive. So we have to come up with the ideas. That's why organizational support and the tools for collaboration, for example, are important. And then we are going to the third part, which is exactly the enablers, which are the tools, methods, and infrastructure. So what that we will be very agile and we will be able to design and sign off, let's say, new change to the system, but we cannot expand our infrastructure because we have old systems and we have to buy new server and so on. everything is jeopardized. The time to market is much longer because we are not agile in all of the aspects of our operations. So all those three things, organizational support, standardization, and full level automation, methods, tools, and infrastructure. Now a little bit of selling slide, but also the very good source of the information. First of all, design thinking. You can see how IBM is coping with putting the customer or the client or the end user in the middle of our design of our products and projects. Because of the scale IBM is working on, we had to tweak a little bit the original idea and bring some new ideas to this methodology, but it works for us. So we put, again, everything what we do is for a purpose for the user. Agile or Scrum, this is something which I mentioned already, right? It's not an excuse not to have a plan or methodology. Agile is something else. It's embedding the feedback into what we are doing. It's asking the end user during development if this is what you want. It's prototyping. Urban code. Imagine that you have 20 different systems and you want to implement the changes every day to each of them. How many team members would you have to deploy the changes to all the environments, solutions, distributed systems, and so on? Urban code helps you to maintain your complex, not so complex, or very complex environments and deploy the changes in the structured and centralized way. IBM Rational Team Concert is quite interesting tool which we are using by ourselves during our projects, implementation projects, where whole team can collaborate on versioning and the same product. So they can work together like on the whiteboard, although they are in the totally different parts of the world. IBM Connections. This is a great story from IBM transformation success. We call it Facebook for corporations, because basically this is more or less what it is. You can create your communities, you can create your wikis, blogs, you can create anything of a social kind of activities within the corporation. It's safe because it's within your corporation. People can freely share the knowledge and collaborate across the geographies and come up with the great ideas, work on them, restrict the access if it's necessary, if it's confidential, but still it gives them the common platform to share the knowledge globally. And we use it in IBM, and we are like almost 500,000 of people, and most of the IBMers are contributing to it every day. And interesting, IBM Optim. One of the Optim solutions is, for example, for testing. We were already discussing during the lunch today this solution that you can automate your tests in a very efficient way to create test cases, to create data sets in an automated way. So you have a new release, you can run the tests within hours, not invite the users, do the user acceptance tests, etc. So automation again. Now, how IBM can help, how we could engage with you in a lightweight format. Agility assessment. If you think that the way how you're working is not agile enough, we could try to come and help you to assess if it's really so bad, what to leverage from what is already there, what is the culture, what are the practices, what is lacking, what are the gaps, what could be implemented, what could be changed in the organization. Then the tools. Well, we have quite a lot of those tools. It's sometimes very difficult even to follow up for us, for IBMers, what new tools we have there, but we have guys whom we can bring to you, show you the tools, show it how it works, show how the other customers are using it, and then you choose what you want to implement. Then, of course, we can come up with our management services, meaning help you to run the project in the agile and DevOps way. So starting from the strategy and vision through design, implementation, we could guide you, drive you, or drive your suppliers, or drive your team in the DevOps mode. This also includes the cultural change which we would have to work with your team, but it can be done. What we do with other customers very often is the testing. Maybe full outsourcing of the testing, maybe only help with the tools, or maybe the methodology. It's also up to you. We have some experiences. Maciek was also involved in one of our customers with how to make testing more pleasant, fast, and easier. And of course, not all the projects can be delivered in DevOps way, and not all the organizations can do that. But if you already are sure that we can do this, IBM can deliver the projects in such a spirit. But we will do the quick releases, a lot of prototyping, and we can change the design during the build phase. That's the most important, not to fix yourself on the design which was done 3 years ago. So that would be all about DevOps. And basically